What is the most painful thing in the world? It is having everything, yet still being unable to obtain the one thing you want the most. My name is Jay Gatsby. You may have heard of me, or perhaps just my name has circulated in the extravagant society of New York. My mansion, my parties, my lavish motorcades and private planes, all of these have become symbols of who I am. On the Gold Coast of West Egg, my mansion stands at the most prominent spot, attracting crowds of celebrities and socialites every night. They come to my parties not for me, but for my wealth and status. Perhaps to them, I am just an exciting joke, but I don't care. The fact that they come means I've succeeded. But even with all of this, my eyes are always fixed on that elusive green light in the distance. It is the light at the end of Daisy Buchanan's dock, and she, once, was the beginning of all my dreams. Even after I've gained all this outward success, the emptiness inside me cannot be filled. All the wealth and luxury are not enough to bring me back into her arms. Every night, my mansion is filled with lights, parties, and the cream of New York society swarming to my door, as if everything were arranged for my benefit. But even in this dazzling world, my gaze never wavers from across the bay, from that green light in East Egg. That is Daisy's home. She doesn't know that all my wealth and luxury are merely a means to get closer to her. The story begins with a mysterious invitation. I never invited anyone to my parties except Nick Carraway, the young man who had recently moved to West Egg. One day, I finally made up my mind to invite Nick to my party because I knew he was connected to Daisy, and perhaps he could help me. That night he came, as I had hoped. When he stood before me, I smiled the smile I thought could conceal everything, trying to dispel any doubts. Nick and I may have met on the battlefield during the war, but time had placed more and more distance between us. I wanted him to help me get into Daisy's world, so I invited him to take a ride in my new seaplane. Through this, I hoped to learn more about him and about his relationship with Daisy. Perhaps this would bring me closer to the dream I'd never let go of. 5 years ago, during the war, my love with Daisy had burned like a fire. Her smile was a radiance I had never seen before, as gentle as sunlight through mist. At that time, my heart told me this was everything I had been waiting for. But you know, the world never turns the way you want it to. Our family, our social status, the people above us, pushed our love to the edge of a cliff. At that time, Daisy had already opened her heart to me. But I, like a foolish fool, chose to leave. I didn't tell her, or perhaps I never dared to tell her. To make up for the difference in our statuses, I began bootlegging liquor, associating with New York's gangsters, even resorting to deception and crime. All of this was to acquire the money and status that would allow me to be worthy of her. I knew that only in this way could we have a chance to be together. From the beginning, I understood that wealth was the rule of society, and only by mastering this rule could I stand at the top. But 5 years passed, and Daisy married Tom, that idle yet rich man. But I heard that their marriage was not happy. Tom was a philanderer, having affairs even during their honeymoon, and still carrying on an affair with the grocery store owner's wife. I knew that Daisy was still mine. Nick finally began to understand my intention, and I asked him to do a small favor for me: invite Daisy to tea. For me, it was just an excuse to see her again, to bring us closer. She was my former dream. She still was. The day I had been waiting for finally came. I knew Daisy would come, and I, standing at the door, could almost hear my heart beating. She had finally arrived. 5 years, this time apart, made our reunion seem so strange. The excitement and anticipation were replaced by an unspoken awkwardness. Daisy stood before me, and I could feel her inner complexity. But she didn't speak a word, as if there were 1,000 things to say. But she couldn't bring herself to say them. Nick could see our discomfort, and he understood that he was just a bystander. So, he made an excuse to leave. I rushed after him. In that moment, I almost gave up, thinking that all my efforts and dreams were about to collapse in an instant. Nick saw my unease and urged me not to give up. He said that she was just nervous, that he felt the same way. His words were like a shot of adrenaline, and I gathered the courage to return to her. When he came back into the room, Daisy and I were no longer awkward strangers, but the lovers we had been 5 years ago, full of affection. I decided to correct the twist of fate that had occurred 5 years ago to change everything. I decided to have Daisy divorce Tom and then remarry her, because from the moment I met her, I knew I could never be without her. From that point on, I stopped throwing the grand parties, avoiding the attention of others, and even dismissed most of my servants. The Gatsby of old, the man of parties, was now gone. I now simply wanted to wait quietly for Daisy's decision. My life was no longer a whirlwind of luxury, but a life shared with her, every moment filled with peace and affection. However, the changes that came were beyond my control. Ultimately, Daisy told me that she had decided to leave Tom and wanted Nick and Jordan present. We gathered together, and the atmosphere was thick with tension and expectation. But in the end, Daisy couldn't summon the courage to face her husband. Instead, she proposed that we go to the city to escape the heat, subtly hinting at our ambiguous relationship. Tom clearly knew about us and didn't miss the chance to confront me. He argued with me and revealed my past. He questioned where my wealth came from and even doubted my education at Oxford. I explained my background, how I had earned a brief opportunity for further study because of my performance. But Tom kept pressing, calling me a nouveau riche, someone of humble origin, who made his wealth through illegal means. His words pierced my soul, and for a moment, I couldn't contain myself. I shouted and pinned Tom to the table, ready to hit him. By the time I realized what I had done, it was too late. Tom, like a detective who had been waiting for years, had finally caught the criminal red-handed. No matter how much I apologized, it didn't matter. Daisy, as though seeing through a disguise, knelt on the side. Tom had won, knowing Daisy would never have anything to do with a man like me again. He allowed me to drive Daisy home, a final humiliation, while he stayed to drink a couple more drinks before leaving. That night, Mrs. Wilson saw a yellow sports car speeding toward her. She jumped into the road, trying to stop the car, but was hit and killed on the spot. The yellow car, driven by me while I was taking Daisy home, fled the scene in front of many witnesses. Tom then told Wilson that the driver was Gatsby. Wilson, heartbroken, immediately pieced everything together, thinking that Gatsby had seduced his wife, and when things were revealed, had run her over. After a day full of turmoil, Nick was thoroughly disappointed in me. He thought I had fled the scene of the accident and had a big argument with me, but in the heat of the argument, I accidentally revealed the truth. Nick realized that it wasn't me driving, but Daisy. When we left the hotel, Daisy, in an emotional outburst, insisted on driving, thinking it would help her calm down. When Mrs. Wilson suddenly ran into the road, I tried to grab the wheel, but despite my efforts, I couldn't avoid the tragedy. I made him promise to keep this secret, not to let anyone know. Aside from the accident, I was also worried that Tom might hurt Daisy because of what happened at the hotel. I decided to stay there the whole night to ensure she wouldn't be harmed again. Nick suggested he go check on the house, and when he returned, he said he saw Tom gently comforting Daisy, preparing to take her out of New York to avoid the fallout. When Nick came back to me, I could see that he was hesitant. He finally reminded me that I had to leave New York as soon as possible. I knew he was worried for me, but I still held on to the fantasy that Daisy would call me tomorrow and we would escape together. That night, I finally told Nick everything about my past, my origins, my struggles, my experiences, as if I had never been so honest with anyone except him, my only friend. Nick and I talked through the night. By morning, he had to go back to work. Before he left, he gave me the only genuine compliment I had ever received, and it warmed me like nothing else. After he left, I had my servants refuse all business calls, and I waited for Daisy's call. I swam by the pool, repeatedly thinking about everything, waiting for her call. Finally, the phone rang. I rushed to answer it, but just as I was about to pick it up, I heard a noise behind me. Turning around, I saw Wilson burst in. Without warning, he shot me in the back. The bullet pierced my heart. Before I could react, he took his own life. The phone call was from Nick, worried about me. He heard the gunshot and realized what had happened. My death soon made the headlines in New York papers. Those who had once accused me, mocked me, or relied on me, quickly placed all the blame on me. Hit and run, bootlegging, and finally suicide. All the accusations fell on me. Nick tried to clear my name, but he couldn't. In the end, he was the only one who went to those who had once enjoyed my hospitality, asking them to attend my funeral. The painful truth was that no one came except Nick. Daisy didn't even send a flower. They would never understand why I built my castle by the sea, why I always watched that green light. Because Daisy wasn't just a woman, she was the reflection of the American dream, an illusion bought with the life of poor boy James Gatsby. Now the green light was gone, but the nights of New York still shined. There will always be another fool reaching out to the light.